Hey, yo, salute to all my subscribers. Special shout out to everybody else passing through. So, let's have a little fun. Came across this CNN news story, and before I get into this news story, I'm going to issue a little disclaimer. Because this Pennsylvania school district, the district superintendent, William Hall, he's kind of getting a lot of backlash on social media sites like Twitter and Facebook. You know, people who were commenting on this new CNN news article. I don't want to blame him necessarily. I want to be fair. You know, so in the interest of being thorough, being fair, we're gonna walk through this scenario to see if maybe we're missing something, and see if maybe there's something that we can figure out. So, what am I talking about? So this Pennsylvania school district is arming its teachers with 600 miniature baseball bats. I'm just going to read the first part of this article here, this news story. So, after the shooting in Parkland, Florida, a school district in suburban Erie, Pennsylvania, began formulating a school safety plan. Among its measures, handing out miniature wooden baseball bats to all 500 of its teachers. So now that I've given this story, this vlog some context, I want to see if I can try and dissect this a little further. Because on the surface, for anybody who's even remotely logical, this is crazy as fuck. Because if you have even a little bit of common sense, you're probably thinking, why the fuck would you arm someone with not even a full-size baseball bat, like a miniature baseball bat, against someone who would potentially have a firearm? Because this isn't a proposal. This isn't something that is being offered up as a possible solution that maybe we can try. This is being implemented. So this has already gone through all the stages. Anything like this, when you're talking about arming, teachers in a public school or something like, even if it was a private school, this isn't just the decision of a high level official or a high level, this is something that typically is proposed, and then it's probably voted on and some kind of committee, and it probably honestly goes through one or two votes before it's even put into final stages. So there's probably a pretty intensive process. But for this to be at the stage where it's actually being implemented, there were multiple hands involved with this thing here. So this idea went across multiple desks before ultimately it ended up being implemented. Just to make sure that I'm not missing anything, let's walk through the scenario. So, and as a side note, and I posted a video up on my the Facebook group for this platform, Life Relationships and Everything in Between. Some weeks back, some teachers up in Utah who were being trained at a gun range in the process of being certified, because some schools up there were planning on arming teachers with actual firearms, which I had mentioned that I would never want my kids to go to a school where teachers are being armed with firearms. But if you have to arm teachers and your choices are firearms or miniature baseball bats, it's a no-brainer, So, and anytime I post a video or any content, whether it's whether it's video involved or just audio, usually I'll always post something as a follow-up on the Facebook group, and also on the Life Relationships and Everything in Between Facebook page. So there's the Facebook page, Life Relationships and Everything in Between, and then there is the Facebook group. Typically, I'll post whatever follow-up to whatever content, on those two platforms as well, so that, I can have the discussion with people on those mediums. Um, so let's paint the scenario. And I want to preface this by saying anytime you have like a lockdown drill, like a fire drill or a lockdown drill, where you're rehearsing what potentially will need to be done if there is an active shooter and the school needs to go into a lockdown situation. While it is good to have these drills and practice, what the policy and what procedures need to be implemented in case there's ever a need for it to go live, it's important and you do need those things to happen. But keep in mind that a lockdown drill is something that is rehearsed, something that is practiced, and it's never going to be the way it's really going to happen in a real world scenario. And if you have teachers who are trained in any type of firearms, where they're going to be certified to carry these weapons, or if they're going to be trained with these wooden baseball bats, miniature baseball bats, and trained in close quarter combat, because that's what would need to happen. You can't just give someone a miniature baseball bat and say, if someone has a gun, use this to disarm them. You would need to be specifically trained in close quarter combat, because there are different approaches that you would have to know how to engage in, to move successfully through a situation like that. So let's say in some wing or section of the school, there is an active shooter situation. All right. The first thing that comes to my mind is, for whatever portion or wing area of that school where this lockdown situation is happening, or where this active shooter situation is happening. First of all, the students and or staff in that area, they're already going to be affected. They're already in the most immediate danger, because I would imagine there's some kind of procedure for a lockdown to be initiated. I don't know if, when I was in school, there were phones in the classrooms that you could ring through to the office. I don't know if that's still what the setup is, because this is a long time ago. I don't know if there are like panic buttons at the teachers' desks, or I don't know what the protocol is. But I would imagine that there would need to be something done in order to initiate this lockdown scenario, and then probably confirmed, just in case, so that it's clear that, this isn't a drill, this isn't a mistake, this is a real world situation. So the people in that immediate area where that, the ground zero, so to speak, where that active shooter is starting their assault or whatever it is, those staff members or students are probably already going to be, shot or killed, or, God forbid, whatever. Fast forward so the staff in that portion or section or wing of the school are probably never even going to have a chance to go and get these, I don't even want to call them weapons, because they're, for the sake of this video, I'll just call them weapons. Before the staff even have a chance to go and get these weapons, they're probably already going to be, too late. So, because this is a school setting, so whether it's a firearm or baseball bat, miniature baseball bat, whatever it is, these things are considered weapons. They can't just be readily out in the open and available. They would have to be secured under lock and key. So, and whether it's a centralized area, like some closet on each floor of the school, or if there's one bat in each classroom for each teacher, I don't know. But it would have to be under lock and key, somewhere that the teacher could get to, that the teacher would have a key to open, and then, remove this bat in a situation where they may need it. Fine. So the teachers who are going to be in that immediate vicinity of what's going on probably won't have the time or the opportunity to arm themselves with these miniature baseball bats. So that part is out of the scenario. Now this lockdown is in effect. It's been confirmed. Now you have the other teachers in the other parts of the school. So these teachers in these other parts of the school, now they've gotten the word that this lockdown it's an actual situation. Now they would have to move to these designated areas or these areas in their classrooms where these miniature baseball bats would be secured. And they remove them, and now they're, you know, I would think the very next priority would be to evacuate the students, to get the kids to safety. And if that's their priority, I would think that for something like that, I would imagine you would probably need all hands on deck, right? So let's say, and I would hope that these teachers or certain teachers or, a teacher wouldn't be expected to go looking for this student, this individual, this active shooter to try and engage them or surprise them or sneak up on them or whatever. I would think that that wouldn't be a part of this plan here. And so if that's the case too, and you're trying to evacuate these students, and you're in the process of evacuating the school, and this active shooter sees you, we're talking about a firearm. And in all reasonable probability, we're more than likely talking about a high-powered rifle, because that's the common theme that we see play out in these active shooter situations. It's very rarely a handgun. At the very least, it's some kind of a semi-automatic, or it's a high-powered rifle that can shoot, however many rounds per second. And I come around the corner and I see a teacher holding a baseball bat. You're already at a disadvantage. You don't have a chance. Let's say it's the other way around. Let's say if in your haste to try and evacuate the school, you're the teacher who happens to stumble upon me. You peek around the corner, you see me standing there. What is your next move going to be? What's the very next thing that you're going to think to do? Because you've got this miniature baseball bat, and I have this high-powered rifle, this firearm. Even if my back is turned when you initially see me, my back is only going to more than likely, my back is only going to be turned for seconds at the most, but more than likely fractions of a second or milliseconds, because this is an active shooting situation. I'm an active shooter, right? Hypothetically, the anxiety and the adrenaline that's running through my system probably has me so hyper aware of everything that I'm probably pacing back and forth. At the very least, my head's on a swivel. I'm turning every few seconds to see what's going on. I'm probably hunting for students or looking for people, to shoot if that's my goal, right? So if that's the case, if that's what's happening, you would have to be so well trained, and you're only a trained educator and an experienced educator. You might be trained in a few courses in close quarter combat, or you might be trained on how to use this miniature baseball bat, but this is not your area of comfort. Now, more than likely, if this person's an active shooter, they're probably not necessarily trained in these types of situations either. They might have had some target practice, or they might have gone to a gun range or two, but you're not specifically trained for these types of situations the way that law enforcement would be. And probably not even really law enforcement, more specifically like your tactical units, like your SWAT teams or your National Guards and, units like that. Not necessarily your patrol officers. So you see me, my back is turned. What is your next move going to be? Because it's not just about having a baseball bat and me having a firearm. You have to perfectly time your very next move if you're going to try and approach me to disarm me. Because you only get one chance in that type of situation. Because even though you have a baseball bat, you would have to know exactly where and with how much pressure to hit me with that bat in order to be able to either fully disorient me or completely disable me long enough for you to take control of that situation. And I don't see an average teacher being able to do that because the training's not there. Even if you got close enough to swing that bat at me, remember, this is a highly intensive situation where, adrenaline's flooding through everyone. You, the shooter, everyone involved. So I'm probably not stationary. I'm probably moving. I'm probably pacing, or, my back might be turned. My back might be turned momentarily, but I could be in the act of turning back around when you swing the bat, or moving, or raising my hand, or anything. And if you don't hit me in that exact right spot with the right amount of force, more than likely, you're not going to drop me. And even if you do, more than likely, I'm still going to have control of that firearm. All it would take at that point would be for me to turn or even slightly recover and raise that firearm and start shooting. So it's a very dangerous, that puts that teacher in a very dangerous situation, because it takes a lot more force than what people would think. It's not an excessive amount, but it takes a lot more force than people would think, and it's a lot harder to do than what it looks like on TV to render a person unconscious with one blow of, whether it's swinging your fist or a bat or whatever. You would have to hit that person in the right spot. You would probably do damage if you hit me and didn't knock me out, didn't render me unconscious, or completely disable me. You would do damage, 100%. I would feel it. But that damage might not necessarily be immediately felt, because, again, it's like when you get into a fender bender, a minor car accident. You don't feel sore until the next day because all that adrenaline immediately starts rushing through your body. And so in those types of situations, there are certain situations where, a person can be shot, depending on what part of their body. And if the adrenaline's flowing enough, you don't immediately feel it, the pain, or you don't immediately realize the danger that you're in, or what just happened. So I can't figure out what it is I'm missing. I can't figure out why this school district thought it was a good idea to implement this, because in recent school shootings, there were resource officers who are trained and certified to carry firearms and authorized to use them in those types of situations, who couldn't ignore their natural instinct to run away from ground zero rather than towards it. Police officers and people in the service, armed forces, they all, firefighters, first responders, while they're running toward danger, and you have to understand that it took extensive training to get them out of the natural instinctual mode of running away from danger, because that's human nature. You have to be intensely trained to go against your body's natural fight or flight responses that are just programmed by nature, and then to be able to adequately function during those time periods, because you don't know how you're going to react in those situations. Some people may freeze, some people may not be as sharp or as mobile, or in those types of situations, you don't know what that flood of adrenaline and that anxiety and excitement, you don't know what that's going to do to your body. You only know if you're ever in that situation, and it's different for everyone. So I really don't understand what the hell the school district could have been thinking. I don't know. I mean, wooden baseball bats, and you're supposed to use this if you come across an active shooter for the purposes of trying to disarm them. God forbid, and I hope that there are no, I hope that we can do away with these school shootings altogether. Unfortunately, as long as there are guns, there's going to continue to be people who will use them inappropriately, and there will continue to be tragic situations, where innocent people are killed and hurt. But at the very least, I hope that, for the teachers and the schools in this district, that there is never an active shooter situation at any of these schools, because I see it going very badly. You can't, well, clearly you can, but you shouldn't arm teachers with baseball bats and think that that's going to help them in an active shooter situation, because that's just a tragedy waiting to happen. And I would hope that these teachers would know enough, situations to, just try and get out of the school, as quick as you can. I wouldn't even consider having a miniature baseball bat against an active shooter as me even having a weapon. I would totally disregard that, because there's nothing that you can do. There's nothing you can do. As a matter of fact, I could see that potentially going in the opposite direction, and you could even potentially escalate matters even worse, to where that person may become more agitated, and try and kill even more people. I don't know, man. It's just my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Remember, there's a playlist on here for life, relationships, and everything in between. LREIB for short, for the podcast. Also, my podcast on iTunes, Google Play, and Spotify. Subscribe to that. Like, comment, rate it. Share all these videos. Share all my podcast links, so I can get the word out. I bring things to this platform that, quite frankly, I don't typically see being discussed on other platforms. And if they are, it's not done nearly enough. This platform is not about the ratchet entertainment and just reckless, unnecessary shit. That stuff does have its place because it's about balance. But I just think that there's not enough people, who create content on these types of platforms that are really bringing to those platforms the type of content that is about forward progression, or that is about shit that people deal with on a day-to-day basis. And that's why I created this platform. That will be why I will continue to create content for this platform, as well as my podcast. Join the Facebook group, Life, Relationships, and Everything in Between. You can search Facebook at Life, Relationships, Everything. Same thing on Twitter, at LREIB_AMC. And let me know what you guys think. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. And I'll see you on the next one. Peace and love.